Hey everyone, welcome back to the IHC Craft Room. Today is Spooky Series Live number 9. I can't believe already I'm doing 9 of these. I can't believe it. Okay. And we're going to go all in on the dark side today because we're going to be making some black on black candles in these 8-ounce matte black element jars. Aren't they pretty? And these midnight black lids. Love it, love it, love it. Such a cool look, so sleek. And on top of that, we're going to be using these Raven Black wood wicks. Now, I'm sorry because Village Craft and Candle doesn't sell them anymore, but I have some still left from my previous projects. So we're going to be using these guys because then we've got black wicks. And then on top of that, we're going to be dyeing our wax black because black on black on black. And last but not least, we're going to be using black raspberry vanilla fragrance oil. Come on. Come on. That's so cute. It's so cute. Okay. And also, this is like one of the top sellers at Village Craft and Candle for a darn good reason. Let me tell you, it is a yummy, yummy fragrance. I'm really excited to make these candles out of this fragrance oil. Okay, before I forget, you can pick up all of the supplies that I'm using today with the exception of the silicone mold and the scale and some random stuff. But like my wax, my wick stickums, liquid dye, the jars, the lids, the fragrance oil. I picked up all this stuff at Village Craft and Candle. And you can get 5% off if you use code IHC5 at checkout when you purchase things from their website. So keep that in mind, but also keep in mind that you can pick up a lot of candle making stuff at like craft stores. Michael's Canada has a ton of stuff now. You can get wax. I think you can get pretty much everything you need, including the wicks, but not these because remember, discontinued. But, and you can also get a ton of stuff off of Amazon. Just beware on Amazon because, you know, they don't really vet their stuff. And keep in mind, there's lots of like indie candle making companies out there that have some really cool stuff. I got my wood bowls, my big wood bowl and my little one from a company called Rama Candles that I think is in Maple or Woodbridge, Ontario. So have a look. There's a lot of cool companies out there. But if you want 5% off, you can only get it with me at Village Craft and Candle. So keep that in mind. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. I've got my water boiling rapidly here. I'm going to go ahead and measure out. Where's my pour pot? Here it is. I'm going to measure out my wax. We're going to be making 2 of these today. Let me take these lids off so that I don't panic later. Okay. All right, so we're going to get started by measuring out our wax and popping it into the double boiler. I'm doing that because I don't want to bring my microwave into the shot. I'm going to use my microwave later, though, FYI, to pour these because I'm going to be using a different wax for that. For our main pour of our candles, we're going to be using Freedom Soy Wax, which is a really versatile wax and super beginner friendly and forgiving. However, keep in mind that this particular wax will not give us a true black the way the pillar wax will for the molds we're going to be using. The pillar wax can take that black and make it almost like this black, like very, very black. Whereas this particular Freedom Soy Wax will give us like a dark gray versus a black, but not a big deal. Okay, so to make both of these, they're 8-ounce candles, and I want to fill them to about 8 ounces, which should take us roughly under like the treads of the rim, if I'm not mistaken. We're going to be needing 410 grams of wax. So let's do that. Remember to always zero out your scale so that you don't take on the weight of your pour pot accidentally, because that would be no bueno. You wouldn't have enough wax at all. What did I say? 410. Oh, Maria. Okay. So normal people wouldn't really care. But if I'm not right on the money, I'm not a happy girl. Okay, that's just the way it goes around here. All right, I'm gonna pop this into my double boiler. I have it at max. I'm gonna move this out of the way. Sorry for the ruckus. These bags are not quiet. Okay. Next, we're gonna measure out our fragrance oil real quick. And I'm going to protect my scale with some parchment paper and a paper towel because I am very good at pouring stuff places I don't need it. And I don't want my table to smell like black raspberry vanilla forever. Mind you, it is a nice fragrance. So if I had to pick, it'd probably be in one of the top ones. Okay, I'm going to be using this 5-ounce glass measuring cup, which I also picked up at Village Craft and Candle, but I've seen them at Walmart, Amazon. You can get them all over the place. Okay, we're partying pretty hard over here. Do I have to chill you out? I'm going to tell you, this happened to me once. I was really focused on what I was doing, and this thing hippity hopped right off the burner and splashed hot water, and wow, it was a thing. All right. It was a whole thing I don't want to experience again. Okay, so fragrance oil. We need 45 grams of fragrance oil because I'm going for a 10% fragrance load. And our total between both of these is going to be about 8 ounces per. You're bothering me. I'm going to turn this down. All right, let's focus. 45 grams, here we go. Dude, that wax is partying right now. Okay, I went a little bit over. I could squeeze that 1 gram out. Oh, no, you went to 2. Now I have to take it out. You see? You see what you did? If you'd stayed at 46, I would have tried to been chill about it. Okay. This is a pipette, this thing that I'm holding in my hand. If you don't have any pipettes, I highly recommend you get some. They are hella useful in so many ways. I'm going to be using a couple of them today. And they are very cost effective. I think I got a big pack of like 100. Like there was a ton of them for like $10 off of Amazon. Oh man, does this smell yummy? Okay, I'm going to put this aside until we're ready for it. And first, I'm going to actually measure out a little bit of pillar wax because I do want to pour my toppers. So for this candle, like I said, black on black on black. And I think I've decided I want it to have like 1 spider on each candle. Just 1. Like that's just going to be like a moment, a black spider moment. So I need very, very little pillar wax, which is why I'm not going to bother trying to do it in the double boiler. I'm actually going to do it in the microwave. So I'm going to need so little for this. I think I'm going to do like 50 grams. So the reason why I'm not using the same wax for both, okay, is because pillar wax is designed for votives, pillars, tarts, and melts, as it says right here on the back. And that means that it's just a more solid, strong wax. And that means that when we try to demold these spiders, their little legs won't pop off because the pillar is strong enough to keep them intact. And I can tell you that this is 100% true because I have definitely tried pouring with like, you know, Freedom, or even sometimes I often like to make wax melts using molds. And so I'll maybe want to try to use Millennium Soy, which is a great wax for melts. But to get these kinds of shapes that are more complicated, you definitely want a pillar wax. It'll give you. So that's very little wax. I don't know if you can even see how little that is. It's very little. But I'm going to melt that in a minute. I'm just going to set that aside for now. So I don't think I need to measure anything else, right? I've measured my, okay. So I'm going to get this out of the way. Thank you very much, Senor Scale. And I'm going to actually prep my vessels real quick because now it's barely bubbly. It's like barely. Can you... Middle ground, my friend. Middle ground is what we need. All of a sudden, it's just like, yeah, okay, no more bubbling for me. Okay, I always clean out my vessels ahead of time. What that means is you can either wash them with a mild soap and water, or you can spray some Windex inside and use a paper towel and wipe them out. You're just trying to get any dust or debris from, you know, the warehouse. They're going to be in a warehouse somewhere, right? And damn, even in my storage room, they're going to get dusty. So, okay, I'm going to take my glove off because it never ends well when I try to use a wick stickum with my gloves on. It never ends well. All right, we got some movement happening in the water again. Very nice. So this isn't going to take very long. Making only a couple of candles at a time is super fast. Keep in mind that, again, you don't need to use the double boiler method. I find this convenient, but when I found out that all of these American Soy Organics, like the pillar wax we're using and the Freedom Soy Wax, they're all these little beads. They can go in the microwave, right? Not with this pour pot because it's metal, but a glass one like this is sweet. Just make sure you be careful with the handle because it'll get toasty. All right, so I'm going to put these in here. Usually when I'm working with wood wicks, I like to cut them down ahead of time so that I'm not pouring around like a big goalpost in the middle. See, now you're doing too much. You see, you need to find your middle ground, my friend. Calmate. All right, be chill. But because I'm going to be putting toppers on this candle, I would prefer to leave it in at its full length so that if I need a little bit more real estate for to clear the spider, then I have that available to me. Okay, so let's get some wick stickums on here. You could also use a glue gun. Put a little touch of hot glue on the bottom of this guy and pop it in there. Also, some makers will like pour a tiny bit of wax on the bottom of the vessel, like just a little layer while they're doing something else. And then they'll just sit the wax in it or the wick in it and let it harden and then pour their wax on top after. I find all of those things doable, but this is by far the most convenient and cost effective. They're not expensive at all. And I'm sure you can get something like this off of Amazon as well. But they're very economically priced, in my opinion. So I don't stress myself about it. I'd rather make my life easier. They're basically just double-sided stickers, really. So I always wipe off the bottom of my wick clip so that, again, dirt, debris, whatever, it's not going to interfere. Okay, we're going to eyeball this. I think I'm a little off. Okay, that's not so bad. How you doing? Not bad, not bad. We only have a little bit of wax left in there to melt. Okay, that looks good. I'll do this guy too. So I don't usually monkey with my wax once it's in the double boiler. I just let it do its thing. And it's not so bad. It generally melts pretty quickly. I'm not in the middle of this wick clip. Okay. Okay, I think that's good. So I'm gonna smush these down a little bit using this is actually a wick centering tool or a popsicle stick. I can't use my silicone stir stick because it has a rod that goes through it, but not at the edges. So I can't really, it's annoying. So I'm just pushing that down so that my wick doesn't float, which is a paranoia that I have that you would think is because it's happened to me, but it actually has never actually happened to me. And my paranoia of it is unwarranted and severe. But whatever. Okay. All right. We are in good shape here. Now, before we're waiting for this wax to finish melting, I want to talk about these lids for a second. So these lids have like a little foam or something insert in them, which I don't like. So I'm going to pop it out and throw it away because it's unneeded, in my opinion. And the reason I don't like it is because when you have a candle with a lid, it is a fantastic opportunity for you to snuff out your candle by using your lid, a metal lid. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it with a wood lid, although you probably could get away with it, especially because the flame is not going to touch the lid. The object of the game is to, deprive it of oxygen so that it can snuff out the flame. And that will help you avoid a lot of smoke as well. So anytime I have an option for a lid, a metal lid, a plastic lid, or a wood lid, just keep those in mind that you don't want to warp or destroy them. But these are so pretty. This is such a nice look. Look at this, black on black on black on black. I love it. Now let's just make sure that Mary remembers to put the liquid dye in the wax, because I have done this before where I have forgotten to actually put the liquid dye in the wax. I don't want to talk about it. All right, we are fully melted, which did not take long. Let's see. 187. And what do we want to melt this to? Where's my bag? I think 160 if I'm not mistaken. Yes. So you want to melt it to at least 160, and we are beyond that here. So I need a pot holder. Which is funny. I had everything else here, but not that. That's too bad. All right. You guys scram. And that's enough out of you. Merci for your assistance. Okay. Now, I'm going to move this out of here. Oh, boy. Okay, wonderful. So now I don't have to be worried about accidentally burning myself. And if you know me, you know why. Because I burn myself all the time, all the live long day. Okay. First, we're going to put our fragrance oil in. Oh, Mary, it is never a good idea to do this part without gloves on. You basically don't want to be monkeying around with fragrance oil without gloves on. It's not necessarily going to do that much damage to you if you get some on your skin, but you don't want to be using anything this concentrated if you can avoid it. All right. Now I'm going to keep an eye on the time. What's on here? A little floof. Screw. Get away, floof. Okay. I'm going to keep an eye on the time while I stir, because we want to stir for at least 2 solid minutes, which is tedious, but very necessary in my opinion. All right. Here we go. Very necessary because it's stirring your fragrance oil for 2 to 3 minutes, along with a couple of other things that is going to make the difference when you want a strong throw on your candle. It's not the only thing. There are so many factors involved in what makes your candle throw strong. There's the fragrance oil itself. Some are weaker than others. There's the temperature that you pour everything at. There's the wick that you use. There's the wax that you use. There's so many factors. But one that is definitely part of that is how well did you mix your fragrance oil and wax together? It's no joke. They need to become the best of the besties, because that way you'll get a nice, even scent throw, be that weak or strong, however it comes out, throughout the entirety of your candle from start to finish. And to me, that matters. And since we're talking about soy, you're also going to want to let these cure for at least 10 days, which hurts me deeply because who doesn't want to light it right away? I mean, as soon as they solidify, obviously. And I could easily light these tomorrow, and I will get some scent throw, but will it be as good as it'll be in 10 days? Hell no. No way. That's definitely a patience game if you want a good bit of scent throw. I'd say we're coming up on 2 minutes. I feel like I started stirring around 10:19. And since I'm going to also now be mixing in liquid dye, I'm going to continue to stir anyway. So I'm going to call this good for the fragrance oil. And we're going to go ahead and add color. Now, this liquid dye is very, very concentrated, and it does say 7 to 14 drops per pound of wax. And we are at a pound of wax here. So we can go all the way up to 14 drops, which we will, because remember, Freedom Soy is not going to get like that beautiful, rich, black, dark black that we're going to get from Pillar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We're going to do 12. Why? Because it's an even dozen. Una dozzina. And I betcha it'll be nice and black. Doesn't that look so cool? I love the way that looks. That's the only reason why I spread out where I put my my drops, just because I love the way it looks. It's so cool. Okay, so again, we're going to stir for another 2 minutes with the liquid dye, because same reason. We want it to mix and bind really, really well with the wax so that, again, you get even color all the way through your candle. Now, I don't know that it matters, but I have a tendency to stir in from the center out. So I do small, and then I get bigger, and I go all the way to the end until I'm stirring against the edges, and then I come back into that little spiral in the center, and I go back out again. And I'm always scraping the bottom and the sides. Does that matter? Both? I don't know. I think it makes a difference, so I do it. Probably doesn't. It also keeps me a little bit less bored during this part. So, see, this is why I find making candles very meditative. If you know what you're doing and you're prepared and you have all your stuff laid out, you know, it's the preparation part that's probably the most tedious in terms of like making sure you're meticulous and you have all the things. But once you have all the things and you know the math you're going to do, it's very zen. Again, this is why I enjoy crafting so much, because it's very chill. And we need more chill in our lives. There's way too much chaos, drama, busyness. Oh boy, let's not talk about it. Okay. We're about 2 minutes out. I'd say I started around 10:22 and we're at 10:24 right now. So I am ready to pour these into the vessels. And then we're going to make our spider toppers. I'd like to know what temperature we're at. 143. All right. Me batch. Man, this fragrance oil, black raspberry vanilla. It smells so darn good. You don't even know. Of course you don't know. You can't smell through the TV or the whatever you're watching this on. Your phone, your... Okay, so to me, the key is to take it easy because it is very easy to get a little aggressive and over pour, and then it's going to splash and cause chaos. I hope my calculations are good. We'll see if I get to where I want to go. Also, just FYI, this is really hard to see because when I said black on black on black, I wasn't kidding. I actually have quite a lot left. And because I want to put a spider on top, which is going to be pretty thick, I might not actually add much more, just a tiny bit. Okay, I think I'm like at the tread on this one. Okay, so I would say if I wasn't putting anything on top, this was the perfect calculation for these 8-ounce candles because I put just a little bit more in each one. And then that would be really nice with the lid on top. So yeah, about 400. And I'd say next time I would try to do maybe 400 grams of wax as opposed to 410 and see what we would get. But that's nice. That looks great. Okay, I'm going to very slowly move these off to the side. That's going to look so good. Okay, cool. So I'm going to move this out of here. I'm not going to use this. I'm just going to pour it out. And I am going to move on to the pillar soy wax now. Now, bear in mind, I'm not doing this in the double boiler. So I'm going to go pop this into my microwave real quick and let that melt. Okay, I'm going to put that in for about a minute and a bit, and I'm going to go dump this into a container that I have for overage wax. Beautiful. And now I'll just wipe it out a little bit. So, how do you clean your candle making supplies? That is up to you. I try my best to clean it while it's still warm, like I'm doing right now. So that afterwards, all I'm going to need to do is, I personally like to also wash with soap and water afterwards. And that will help keep my pour pot from always smelling like black raspberry vanilla. But you might not care, in which case you're good to go as it is. As long as you're not leaving any wax residue behind, then your next pour won't take, it's very unlikely it would take on any of the smell of the previous one. But I learned from a very experienced candle maker that she actually just would use multiple pour pots and would base it on scent profiles. So she'd have like a pour pot that was more for her gourmand. So the sweet, like vanilla-y kind of fragrances like this one. Okay, let's see. Okay, I put it in for a minute and a half to begin with, and now another minute, which is not what they tell you to do, by the way. The manufacturer recommendation is to do 30 seconds at a time, but I'm impatient, and I've done this before, so it's not a big deal. This is my heat-safe glove that I use when I'm using my glass measuring cup in the microwave because I had a tip from a viewer named Peggy. Thank you again, Peggy. I will forever be in your debt about using these, and they are hand savers, let me tell you. Okay, so now when we get that over here, when it's melty, we're going to put a bunch of black dye, and we're going to need a pipette. Okay, this is for sure going to be melted by now. Need a couple more seconds, but not much. Another like 10-15 seconds should do it. Pillar wax has to melt to a higher temperature, however, because again, it's a stronger wax. So on the bag, it tells you 190 degrees is where you want to be melting it to, and then stirring your fragrance or color immediately and pour. I'm for sure going to be at beyond 190 degrees. Never fails. Let's see. Oh, yeah. I don't even want to talk about how far beyond 190 degrees I am right now. Mitzika. Even with these gloves on, it caliente, caliente. Okay. I'm going to put a ton of black in here. I think that was 4 in rapid succession. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. 10 is incredible overkill. Incredible overkill. But I don't really care. It's just for a couple of spiders. It's not a big deal. It's not going to do anything major. Except hopefully it will give me the crazy black wax I want. So a tip about that I learned from someone is when you're mixing in your color, again, you want to stir it for like a solid 2 minutes to make sure that it really mixes well into the wax. But the best way to know if you have the color that you want at this point is to just take a tiny bit and put it on some parchment paper and let it solidify, because it looks black as the pits of my soul right now. But it could actually, and it will. Actually, no, this is Pillar. Pillar will stay dark. But Freedom Soy will not. That's going to lighten up significantly. It's going to go into like a gunmetal gray, like a dark silvery kind of gray. $205. And keep in mind that I put dye in here and I've been stirring it for a while. That's how high the temperature was when I got it over here. We won't talk about it. It's fine. It's perfectly fine. All right. That is solidifying. Very dark. 700 thumbs up. That's what I'm talking about. That's what we want. Okay, great. So I'm going to consider this well stirred. I'd say that's been at least a couple minutes. I don't know that I'm going to actually use this again, so I'm going to clean it off now. Saves me having to hit it with my heat gun later. All right, wonderful. So let's use our friend Penelope the pipette. Say bonsoir. Bonsoir, Penelope. Okay, here we go. Spiders. Yeah, this is so much easier. Now, don't get me wrong. This thing has a pour spout. Why am I wearing this glove still? I feel like I should sing Thriller or something. You'd probably enjoy it. I can sing, guys. I'm not gonna. Okay, now I'm gonna use this end and kind of like push the wax into the appendages of Senor Spider here. Okay, but I'm still going to put a little bit more wax in, although I want to take this glove off now that I've made note of that. I don't even need to be wearing my rubber gloves anymore, but that's all right. Okay, we're going to put just a bit more because I found that when I don't do that, they kind of sink in the center a little bit. Okay, I think that's enough. A little bit more, please. Oh, wow, I got that one really full. So this is about 2 milliliters. Milliliters. That's actually good to know. So this would be what, like a 3 milliliter fill? Okay. Now keep in mind that this wax is still hella hot, so it's slowly warping this pipette. But it also means that it's keeping the wax very liquid. I've encountered problems with that before where I've been trying to use a pipette and my wax is just not hot enough to stay liquid when it's in such a small amount. And then it would clog the pipette and you couldn't go forward. Okay, I'd say that's good. I don't want to do any more. Just get it up in the corners. Okay, great. We're going to do one more. I know I only need 2 spiders, but, and this is pillar, so it, most likely the legs will not break off, but I'm Mary and things happen. So we're going to make 3. So 50 grams of wax is what I melted, highly over the amount that I needed, beyond over. I would say 20 would have been sufficient for such a small amount. All right. Very nice. My little spiders. Now, all you really need to do is wait for them to solidify a little bit. Doesn't take that long. They're small. You could probably demold these in half an hour to an hour and be fine. Why are you going up in there? Get up in there. Okay, good. Wonderful. I am going to also go pour this. Are you still hot? Oh, yes, you are toasty AF. I'm glad I did that. Okay, hold on. Let me go pour this out. I'll be right back. All right, we're going to clean this guy out too real quick with some paper towel. Just to make my life easier later. But this one's easier to clean out because it's glass. I can pop it back into the microphone. Okay, Mary. Microwave and let that wax melt again and wipe it out. But again, if you can do it while it's warm, you save yourself extra cleanup later. So why not? Okay, beautiful. I'm going to wash that with some soap and water later and call it a day. However, we still have some more to do here because I already made some candles. Voila! I am but a magician. Okay, you get out of here. You get out of here. I don't need you either. And the reason why I have this on parchment paper so that I can slide it out of the way. Wunderbar. So those are going to cure for 10 days and at least a few hours, and then I'll pop them out of the molds. And I made these a couple of days ago. Actually, I made these last week. So they have now been curing for about 7 days, which is good, which is bueno. We can light these guys and some spider friends. So let's do part 2 of this. I want a little bit of parchment paper to put my friends, the spiders. Okay. I'm making this more complicated than I need to. Pillar wax is very strong. Look at that. Wouldn't you squish this? I would squish it. That's a scary looking spider. I made a skull because I wasn't sure if I was going to be completely just do 2 spiders. But I don't think I'm going to use the skull. Not for this. I'm going to use it for another project. It's a cool skull. I got these silicone molds from Amazon. I think there were 3 sets for, I don't know, $10 or something. These molds generally are actually for chocolate. They're not made for this purpose, but I don't care because they work just as well. And when they start being scuzzy and not useful, I'll get rid of them. And we'll move on with our lives. Okay, so I'm not going to though. I really think the spider is where it's at. The spider is where it's at. I just want 1 spider. How cute. Oh my God, so cute. So cute. Now the top of this candle has some cracks on it and some bubbles. So we're gonna hit this with a heat gun anyway in order to have enough. I want my gloves off, but bothering me. The way we're going to add these spiders is by melting a layer of wax across the top and then plopping them in there so that when the wax solidifies, it will behave like glue. And I'm not planning on liquefying the whole top layer, frankly, because I'm going to light these right now because I just want to. So let's go ahead and get these spiders in there. And then I'm going to cut down the wick. So where do I want to put it? I want to put it, I think right there. Let's cover up those bubbles right there. Or do I want it beside the... Oh, that's cool. The legs are straddling the wick. I like it. That's the way it's going to be. And same for you. Actually, you have lots of room. This wick is off center. You can see that it's not right in the middle. Actually, I don't know if you can see that. It's very black on black. But the wick should really be right here. So I'm off by quite a bit on this one. It moved quite a lot. So I'm actually going to tuck the spider into that nook because why wouldn't I? Yeah. All right, here we go. Heat gun. Ooh, that shot some wax at me. Just enough to push him in there. That's all. Very simple. Just a little bit. Solo poquito. Oh man, does this smell good? All right. Woohoo! Woohoo! We have our spiders. You guys scram. We don't need you. All right. So while that wax kind of solidifies a little bit, the way I'm planning to cut my wick, usually a wood wick, you want to be really close to the wax. You want to be at like a quarter inch if you can or less. However, I do have to factor in the amount of wax that'll get released from the spider, and that will need a little bit of a bigger wick to kind of not get drowned out by the melted wax. So I'm actually going to cut my wick level to the topper in the hopes that that will keep it from, hey-oh, oh, that could have ended really badly. Wow, let's not do that again. You try to control yourself, okay? You know what? I'm just going to hold it. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. have a look at these guys. Aren't they cute? I love it. Let me take a little picture. Oh gosh, I almost dropped my phone. All right, beauty. Beautiful. Let's light these guys up. Okay. Now, because this wick is so hella big right now, this is going to give me massive flames. But it won't last long. It's just going to destroy these spiders. That looks so cool. So cool. Now, these are wood wicks, but they don't really crackle. I think you need to have the crackling booster to have the crackle sound on the wick. I didn't actually realize that before. I don't think I've ever paid attention to it. But the other wicks that I use are crackling booster wicks, and they definitely crackle quite a lot. Doesn't that look cool? Melt those spiders. All right, so I mean, that's pretty much it, my friends. We have made ourselves 2 8-ounce black on black on black candles with spider toppers using pillar wax. We've poured them to the right amount. We're using some Raven Black wicks. Now, if you don't have Raven Black wicks, there's a million other wicks you could use, but they're super fun to do this black on black. Some black raspberry vanilla fragrance oil, and a very short amount of time. It didn't take us very long at all to do this. So I hope you enjoyed spending some time with me on a Saturday morning making some candles. I'll be making candles every Saturday morning until the end of 2025 as part of my live series. This is the spooky series, but once Halloween passes us, we're going to hit up our holiday how-to live series. So check in with me. Candles on Saturday mornings. We do some dot painting on Monday evenings at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And some wreath making on Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, until the end of 2025. I'd love to see you. And if you wanted to see some other step-by-step tutorials and you're new to candle making, check out my channel. I have a ton of beginner-friendly candle making tutorials where I take you along on the ride while I learn how to make candles, because I'm still somewhat of a beginner myself. I hope you had fun with me today. I totally had fun making these. And please subscribe, because I'd love to continue getting crafty together. Toodaloo.